Welcome to PCB Chat, where we talk with experts across the printed circuit design, manufacturing, and electronic supply chain fields. I'm Mike Buteau, president of the Printed Circuit Engineering Association. Today's guest is Wally Rhines. Wally is the former CEO of Mentor Graphics, and he's now the spokesperson for the ESD Alliance, which is part of Semiconductor Equipment and Materials International. As he does each quarter on this show, Wally will share the latest electronic design automation data. The quarterly ESD Alliance report covers everything from semiconductor tools to PCB design software to services, plus employment and so forth. Hello, Wally.
Hello, Mike. Good to talk to you again.
So the latest results from the first quarter 2024, which ended April 30th, are in, and they are being released on July 15th. The PCB design tool sales are still in the black on a year-over-year basis, up more than 45 million, but the growth rate slowed a bit, and the market was down sequentially for the second straight quarter. What can you tell us?
Well, I can tell you that for total electronic design automation, it was a great continuation at 14.4%. Excellent growth overall. Right on line with the four-quarter moving average, so steady as she goes, but really very, very strong. As you noted, the printed circuit board and multi-chip module category was much weaker than usual this time, at 2.8%, although still positive, but a lot of weakness in Japan and substantial weakness in the PAC rim as well. But continued reasonable strength in North America and Europe. The four-quarter moving average is still very strong, 13% for printed circuit board, but we've got some let up this quarter, and there are lots of possibilities for why that might happen.
So you noted the strength of the overall market. Historically, is there a correlation between IC software sales and PCB and MCM tool sales?
Well, I don't have actually a firm study on it, but EDA does tend to move together a lot of the time. But if there's any one category of the, five or six that we follow, PCB is less correlated with IC design than the other categories that we follow. So you can have a strong IC design quarter and a weak PCB quarter, or vice versa. And it's really just a dynamic of who buys which products.
Join us in celebrating PCBWay's 10th anniversary. From humble beginnings in 2014, PCBWay has become a global leader in electronics manufacturing, known for high-quality PCB prototypes and assembly services. Over the past decade, PCBWay has expanded its offering to include advanced PCBs such as multi-layer, flexible, and rigid flex PCBs. Its continuous investment in cutting-edge technology guarantees precision and reliability for complex electronic projects. With an easy-to-use online platform, instant quotes, and comprehensive support, PCBWay has attracted over 500,000 engineers and electronics enthusiasts worldwide. Committed to sustainability and community involvement, PCBWay practices green manufacturing and supports educational projects to foster innovation in electronics. Visit PCBUA.com and see how we are at the forefront of PCB technology and services, ready to explore new innovations.
Geographically, it looks like Asia is closing the gap with the Americas. It's just about $200 million lower and about 5 percentage points behind in terms of market share. So should the Americas be worried?
Well, you have to decide, where is design being done? Where are they using the software? If I look at the PCB numbers overall and say, gee, weakness in Japan, weakness in PAC rim, there are lots of explanations you could come up with. Of course, the survey we do tells the what, not the why. But those are strong regions for automotive design and production, both Japan and the PAC rim. So is Europe too, I might add. But anyway, it's quite possible that the very strong automotive design activity of the last 4 or 5 years is slowing down somewhat, and that companies have what they need in terms of printed circuit board design. There are other possibilities too, for why you might see a fluctuation this quarter.
To your memory, does any specific quarter tend to historically grow faster or slower than the others in terms of revenue?
For printed circuit board, it used to be that we had enormous seasonality with the fourth quarter far outweighing the others. What's happened in the last 7 or 8 years is that the revenue recognition for some of the biggest EDA companies has transitioned to ratable recognition. So all of that gets smoothed out and the seasonality is greatly diminished compared to what it was before. Now, European, Japanese companies, Siemens, others still report with the revenue recognition that recognizes revenue whenever the software is delivered. But Cadence, Synopsys, maybe some others do it ratably. So seasonality is not as significant and it's not as easy to follow as it used to be. PCB, I would expect more would be left in than with IC design, but still a diminished seasonality trend that can be followed with any meaningful insight.
And just to be clear, the ESD Alliance doesn't do any rationalization of those numbers. They just take what's reported from each company in that particular quarter, regardless of how that company is recording its own revenue.
That's right. We depend upon the companies to report the revenue. In the case of public companies, we do a cross check to be sure that the publicly reported numbers are roughly in line with the ones reported to the survey. For private companies, we have to trust that their revenue recognition is in fact in line with whatever their audited standards would provide.
Got it. Employment was up again year over year, but was more modest sequentially for the second straight period. The pace of hiring did increase from the fourth quarter, however.
Yeah, it's still very strong. At a 6.9% jump over the first quarter, 2% versus the fourth quarter. Still a growth that always surprises us because almost regardless of how the revenue grows, the employment grows. In this case, we're growing employment much slower than we're growing overall revenue. So you should see overall the EDA industry should be improving in profitability as a result.
The rest of the year might well be very chaotic given all the world events, elections in the US, England, and France, and so forth. But I'm going to enjoy this good news, Wally, and cross my fingers that it lasts.
Okay. Well, yeah, there's some wild cards here. This particular quarter, China and India were remarkably weak, but Korea, Taiwan, and the rest of Asia Pacific were remarkably strong. So a lot of dynamics here. You also have in the printed circuit board world, you had at least one major acquisition. I've checked to see if that had an effect on the numbers, and at least the reporting companies did not change this survey versus prior ones. So I don't think that was a contributor, although you never know. It could be that whenever you have big M&A activity, strange things happen in the quarters leading up to it as customers try to decide whether they're better off buying software before or after the transaction occurs.
Okay, that's something I wouldn't have thought of. That's really interesting analysis. So thank you for that, Wally. Anything else jump out at you from this particular reporting period?
No, we did have good strength in the package design category. It's once again, just as a reminder, a lot of companies report their package design software sales in the other categories like IC place and route, but then there are quite a few. It's not a small category. So in the package design, $55 million market, it was up almost 60% year to year here. So I think probably it's becoming significant enough that some companies have taken note and have started reporting in the category, or maybe it's just the tremendous activity going on in designing new, more complex packages, multi-die packaging, interposers, things like that.
Yeah, it's an interesting category, right? Because some tool makers have products that will do IC, package, board. Others, I think, have dedicated products. And so where exactly does that revenue want to fall?
Well, and that's up to the company. We give the definitions, but we don't audit them to see how they reported it. There is certainly a lot of competitive activity going on the IC related packaging as we have advanced processes like TSMC's CoWoS, and we have the assemblers, major assemblers that are also competing for much of the same business. And so the software tools to support all that package design are being enhanced at a rapid rate. And so you would expect that people would be upgrading and that that'll continue to be a strong growing category in the future.
Great. Well, Wally, I look forward to catching up with you again next quarter. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, Mike, it's always a pleasure.
For PCB Chat, this is Mike Buteau. Have a nice day.